Welcome to the second video, and the second brick that we're going to be talking about is this. Knowing God's character leads to knowing His will. Our passage for today is Mark 1, 21 through 39. I'm going to read it for us, and you follow along in your scriptures. And they went to Capernaum, and immediately on the Sabbath he entered the synagogue and was teaching. That's Jesus. And they were astonished at his teaching, for he taught them as one who had authority, and not as the scribes. And immediately there was in their synagogue a man with an unclean spirit. And he cried out, "What have you to do with us, Jesus of Nazareth? Have you come to destroy us? I know who you are, the Holy One of God." But Jesus rebuked him, saying, "Be silent and come out of him." And the unclean spirit, convulsing him and crying out with a loud voice, came out of him. And they were all amazed, so that they questioned among themselves, saying, "What is this? A new teaching and with authority. He commands even the unclean spirits, and they obey him." And at once his fame spread everywhere throughout all the surrounding region of Galilee. And immediately he left the synagogue and entered the house of Simon and Andrew with James and John. Now Simon's mother-in-law lay ill with a fever, and immediately they told him about her. Then he came and took her by the hand and lifted her up. And the fever left her, and she began to serve them. That evening at sundown, they brought to him all who were sick or oppressed by demons, and the whole city was gathered together at the door. And he healed many who were sick with various diseases and cast out many demons. And he would not permit the demons to speak because they knew him. And rising very early in the morning, while it was still dark, he departed and went out to a desolate place where he prayed. And Simon and those who were with him searched for him. And they found him, and they said to him, "Everyone is looking for you." And he said to them, "Let us go on to the next towns, that I may preach there also, for that is why I came out." And he went throughout all Galilee, preaching in their synagogues and casting out demons. This is the word of the Lord. The second part about hearing God that I want to talk about is about getting to know His character and how that impacts how we know what His will is for our life, okay? Typically I would call a volunteer up, but since this is a video, I just want you to think about your best friend or a sibling or just someone you know really, really well. You know, maybe this is a spouse or a BFF that you've had since elementary school, or just whoever it is, someone that you know really well, okay? And now imagine that you are going to plan a surprise birthday party for this person. So I said, hey, what kind of food would they want? What kind of colors should we do? Should we do a theme? Should it be big? Should we invite lots of people? Or should we just have a small, really chill gathering? Should we do it outside and have like activities? Or would they prefer like games and stuff like that? Think about your answers to these questions. If I was planning a party for Cameron, my husband, I would be able to answer these questions without talking to him. I know what kind of foods he likes, I know what kind of activities he likes, I know who his closest friends are, and things like that, okay? I'm assuming you probably also know these things about people that you're close with. And you don't have to call them up on the phone and say, speak to me, please. What is your favorite color? What is your favorite color? Speak to me. Instead, you probably know these things about that other person because bit by bit, as you spent time with them throughout the years, you've gotten to know them as a person. You know who they are, you know their character, you know their likes, their dislikes, their preferences. You kind of know how they work. The time spent together was sometimes casual, sometimes intentional. You talked, you listened, hopefully. You observed, you paid attention to how the other person works. The same is true with God. And again, Jesus is our example. Look at Mark 1:35. It says, "Very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, left the house, and went off to a solitary place where he prayed." I am willing to bet that he didn't start getting up early in the morning and spending time with Jesus when his ministry started. He probably did that every day for 30 years as he worked as a carpenter. He knew the Father so well from spending time with him that he was tuned into his voice and his will because he knew his character. For us today, that looks like being intentional to get to know God's character. God's character is chiefly revealed through Scripture. If you aren't in the truth, you won't be able to detect a lie. It's also revealed through prayer, fasting, and meditation, through service and celebration. We get to know God through practicing what's called spiritual disciplines, which are simple habits that place us in a heart posture to hear from God. How many of you do a sport, okay? And if you want to make varsity on your team, you have to put habits in place to make varsity. These are things like practice, dedication, and respect. Similarly, to get to know God, we have to engage in the habits that lead us closer to Him.